Whether new shooter, longtime gun owner, or even police officer or soldier, your handgun needs a Crimson Trace laser sight or light. Get the confidence and reliability you need to protect family, home, and country. Crimson Trace.
Today on Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, we have a gun rights champion, a shooting champion, and winning ways to protect your guns, plus your range reports and more. Call in now at 866-825-5486. Now, here's Tom.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be talking about guns today. I'm Tom Gresham. It's called Gun Talk, so we get to talk about guns. Well, we get to talk about guns more than we normally do, because if you're like me, you talk about guns a lot throughout the week. You talk about guns and gun rights and safety and extra, all sorts of things. But what's new? What's cool? Training. Just sent out a tweet asking people to kind of make a promise to yourself and to your family that you will go get some low-light training sometime soon. If you're serious about this stuff, if you're serious about coming home at the end of the day, if you're serious about protecting your family, your wife, your children, your husband, low-light training. If you haven't done it, find some, get some. It really is that important. By the way, if you'd like to join us here, it's really easy. Just call us 866-TALK-GUN or 866-825-5486, blah, 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 blah. Lots of numbers. Easier this way. Just dial Tom Talk Gun. That'll get you here. On a landline, throw a 1 in front of it. You remember that? You used to have to do that. We had a deal recently. My wife was trying to call a number on a landline, and it won't go through. I said, well, did you dial 1? She goes, oh, yeah. It's been so long because on the cell phones, you don't have to do that. You can shoot me an email, tom@guntalk.com. Over on Twitter, I am at GunTalk. Lots of things cooking. We've got, wow. On TV, our shows just keep doing better and better. They're on the Pursuit Network right now. On DirecTV, it's $6.05. On Dish, it's $3.93. Okay, give me just a moment of personal privilege, okay? Rob Latham, who you probably all know or know of, has won dozens and dozens and dozens of national and world shooting championships. He has been in the business of being a professional shooter for 30 or 40 years now. Just got a note from him. He just saw our show that we produced on the Bianchi Cup, one of the top shooting competitions. And we took a little bit different angle on this. It's up right now on YouTube. If you go to our Gun Talk our Gun Talk channel on YouTube, you can see it. We took a little bit different angle on it. We featured Chris and Michelle Serino and Colton, their son, all shooting there. It's a family affair. And then we showed other families that go to this thing and how it's developed that families go together and they shoot together. And Rob's comment was simply this: single best piece I have ever seen for a shooting match. I mean, like ever in the history of ever. Well, considering the source, I don't think it gets any better than that. And I would encourage you, for those who are always trying to figure out, what do you tell people when people say, well, what is it you like so much about shooting? Why do you like shooting guns? What's the attraction? Just send them the link to this show. Let them see the camaraderie, the fun, the challenge, how hard it can be, how much it's a mental game, how much it works on you. The friendships that develop over years, and you have these friends you've been shooting with for all these years. Just go to on YouTube, just look for Gun Talk, and you can see our show on the Bianchi Cup. Now, we have recently gotten more decisions from courts that are going our way. Now, of course, if you follow the gun rights movement, you know the name Heller. You know the Heller decision out of the Supreme Court. You know this because it was monumental. Well, Dick Heller, who the Heller decision is named for, has not slowed down and he has not stopped. And we are joined right now by the one and the only Dick Heller, also of the Heller Foundation. Dick, how are you?
Hello, Tom Gresham. Yes, it's Dick Heller, and I'm at a gun show, the biggest gun show on the East Coast, I think, in Virginia. And
that's great.
We're doing what needs to be done. Still,
you are now. Tell people what the Heller Foundation is. What is the Heller Foundation?
Well, the Heller Foundation is an offshoot of the work that we knew from an offshoot from the work that we needed to be done after the first case. And there's been other cases after Heller 1, as you know. And when the city said, you have your guns, we have control, we said, something bad is going to happen, and something has to be done. So we formed the foundation, got our 501c3 eventually, and we're raising funds for different kinds of cases, gun cases.
Okay, so what was Heller 2?
Well, Heller 2 was those 16 items that D.C. put in front of us as thumbtacks in the road, I like to call them, or as hurdles that you had to jump before you could be a firearms owner. Remember, we have our guns, but they have control of them, is their philosophy. Right.
So they put all these roadblocks in the way of getting a gun or owning a gun in D.C., after the Supreme Court had said, no, individuals have a right to own guns, even in D.C., or maybe even especially in D.C. So you came up with the next suit. Now, you just got a pretty good win, not a total, but a pretty good partial win out of this.
Well, what's interesting is the whole thing on the Heller 3 appellate decision, and to be clear, Heller 3 is simply an extension of Heller 2. They just give it a different label because it was the second trip back. And it was a partial win, partial loss for both sides. It all focused on elements of registration, and there were elements of registration we'd never talked about before. For instance, when you register a gun, you normally take it in, and the appellate court, as an example, said, well, if you're going to re-register a gun, you really don't have to take it into the police station because you could get hurt. And so there were 10 different elements of registration. We won 4 and the city won 6. So we'll be back to the appellate court again.
You know, Dick, you just mentioned something that I've been saying for decades, and that is the fight is never over. We never win totally, and even if we do, they keep coming back. This is a long-term, not just long-term, this is a forever battle, is it not?
You took the word right out of my mouth. This is a forever battle. It's like when a Rottweiler grabs a hold of your ankle, he will never let go. Never, never, until he's no longer living and breathing. And it's kind of way... if you look at the Bolshevik Revolution, that's the way they operated. They just kept coming after you and coming after you with a death of 1,000 cuts until freedom was dead in Russia, and it's dying here. Same method.
Now, there are some, and I know you run into this all the time, some that say, well, you know, we didn't win everything, so that's really disappointing. But I kind of take the other view is that, look, we won some things, and now we get to go back and work. We still are fighting.
We get to appeal to a higher authority, and that's what the Heller Foundation is doing. We're raising funds for multiple court cases. Actually, we have some more on the books. If you go to the hellerfoundation.org website, you'll see some of the new issues that we're addressing. And it's really challenging for everyone that is challenging government the way we do, that because every single piece of paper, it takes research, and it takes some life energy and heart muscle from some lawyer, and they deserve to be remunerated. They deserve to be paid. Sure. Everybody's got to be paid.
And one of the real frustrating parts, and I know you have had this thought a lot more than one time, is that, gee, I'm paying for both sides of this fight.
repeat. It's a little noisy here. I don't know if you can hear me clear.
I said the frustrating part is that we end up paying for both sides of the fight because they're using our tax dollars to fight us, and then we have to come up with private dollars to fight them to take back the rights that they're taking away.
Oh, yeah, we're taxed twice, actually, and then some of us are taxed more because everyone pays the taxes, and then we need more people. Not everyone pays the foundations to do the work that we're doing, but we seem to be able to get things done, and it takes a lot of sacrifice. You know, I've been in this battle for 40 years now.
Wow.
Starting in 1976 to 2016 will be 40 years.
And and it will go on for another 40 and another 40, and we need more people to step up at every level. And if you're a youngster and you're coming into this and you're in your 20s and 30s, and you're thinking, man, I wonder when we're going to win this one. Listen to Dick Heller. Listen to me. We've been at this for decades. We're still fighting, but at a certain point, you got to pick it up and carry it because we're not going to be around doing this, and that's where people need to get involved, right?
You know what? I'm on the upside of 70, pushing 80, and I'm starting to tell people, look, I need to pass this off to you. And the way we do that is I try to raise funds. I pay the young lawyers to do the work. And it's sort of synergistic that way. We both work together. And then, of course, you're helping everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Dick, I'm going to let you get back to the gun show. I appreciate you taking some time out. I hope you find something that you like. Spread the word about what you're doing. And I want people to go to your website. It's hellerfoundation.org. And you can find out more about what's going on there and what Dick Heller and his crew have been doing there. All righty. Now we're going to be open lines. You and me, your range reports. I've gotten several that have come in via email, but it's a lot more fun if you call me and tell me what you've been shooting. 9, 40, 45, 22. Oh. And did you hear about what Ruger brought out this week? Holy cow, is Michelle going to be happy? We'll have that news when we come back. 866-TALK-GUN is the number here. I'm Tom Gresham, and this is Gun Talk.
The XDM 3.8 Compact from Springfield Armory is 2 guns in 1. Use as your concealed carry gun with a compact magazine and use the extended magazine for home defense. Carry 13 rounds of 9mm in the compact magazine and a whopping 19 rounds in the extended magazine. To see the entire family of Springfield Armory XDM pistols, go to SpringfieldArmory.com. That's SpringfieldArmory.com.
You got your carry permit, and that's good. But you know you could use more training. Get the DVDs, which have what you need. Springfield Armory presents Concealed Carry 1 and Concealed Carry 2 with Bata Group. Learn specific concealed carry skills from Top Gun fighting trainers. Get trained. Be prepared. This really is life and death. ShopGunTalk.com. That's ShopGunTalk.com.
You may be a new shooter, a longtime gun owner, or even a police officer or soldier. No personal defense handgun is fully equipped without a Crimson Trace laser sight or light. Get the confidence and reliability you need to protect family, home, and country. Call 800-442-2406 or visit crimsontrace.com for a free copy of our new laser training video, The Laser's Edge, Crimson Trace.
You're at a gun store and your phone tells you about hot deals. Want to know about special offers? No problem when you have Gun Dealio, the free app for your smartphone. Gun Dealio delivers the latest deals on guns, ammo, and extras direct to your phone. Don't overpay for your shooting gear. Get Gun Dealio. It's free at the App Store and Google Play. Trigger the deals with Gun Dealio. GunDealio.com.
Who will you trust with your guns and valuables? Liberty Safes are the best built and most secure safes on the planet. They sell more gun safes than any other brand. It's about trust earned through performance. If your Liberty Safe is damaged by fire or attempted break-in, they'll send a new safe right to your home. Protection from thieves and fire. Trust the #1 maker of quality gun safes. LibertySafe.com.
All right, back with you. And in just a minute, I'll talk about the shooter out in Oregon. I do want to talk about that a bit. But first, I do want to mention that Ruger just announced, boy, is Michelle going to be happy about this one because she loves the .327 Federal Magnum cartridge. Ruger announced that their LCR, their little compact revolver, self-defense, personal defense revolver, will now be chambered in the .327 Federal Magnum. Well, why get excited about that? Well, there are certain cartridges that are just magic. I mean, I know that sounds weird, but they are. The 28 gauge is magic. It does more than it should. The .327 Federal is magic. It produces more energy than a .38 Special Plus P, but with less recoil. Say what? Yes, it does. Now imagine this. Your 5-shot .38 Special or .357 Magnum revolver just went to a 6-shot revolver. Same size. You just have smaller holes. You have .32 caliber holes instead of .38 caliber holes, so you can get one more round in the same size cylinder. Now, it gets even better than that. You can shoot .32 H&R, little lightweight rounds, practice rounds, not much recoil. And then when you want to, you can stoke it with the .327 Federal Magnum cartridges, and those things are hot, 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 and they will do the job for you. Now you got 6 shots, so you just got a 20% increase in capacity. Imagine in your carry gun getting a 20% increase in capacity, and the gun doesn't get any bigger. Cool beans. So Ruger's LCR now available in the .327 Federal Magnum. I am absolutely, positively going to get one of those. All right, let's talk I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I want to get your impressions. I'd love to invite your thoughts on the news coverage as much as anything on the shooter in Oregon, goes into the community college, kills a bunch of people. A lot of confusion, still confusion. Was it a gun-free zone? Yes, it was. And no, it wasn't. See, I told you it's confusing. The university has a policy of no guns, but the state has a policy that you can carry guns onto campus. It seems as though when you read the university's policy that they have a no guns policy unless state law allows it. But I'm not quite sure about that. Nobody I've talked to is. There were students on campus who had firearms, concealed carry permits and firearms. They just were not in that room. The security, air quotes, security people in the university are not allowed, wait for it, they're not allowed to carry guns. They can carry pepper spray. Security people. So when the guy goes in, obviously the problem was, among a lot of other ones, but there was nobody in the room that had a gun. There was a hero. He got shot, depending on which story you read, 5 to 7 times. Didn't get killed. Trying to stop him, trying to block him. 10-year military veteran. Good for him. Not armed. And still said, no, not today. People say, well, see, there's concealed carry on campus and it didn't help. Well, then that's like saying, well, there are police around, but they didn't help, so we shouldn't have armed police. If they're not in the room, they cannot react. So, yeah, great question, Jim says. In mass murders, how many victims were armed? Like 0. But the one thing that came out of this that I found interesting and very encouraging, as I'm watching the coverage of this, the sheriff there refused to use the shooter's name. How many times over the years have I said, I will not speak the shooter's name? Because what the shooter wants, and in this case, we have his writings who says he wants to be famous. It's the only way that people will know who I am or who I was. And the more people you kill, the more famous you are. And so Douglas County, Oregon Sheriff John Hanlon said he will not say this guy's name. That's one thing, and good on you, Sheriff. But what's interesting about this, and I'd like your opinion on this, the media, he shamed the media because they'd never run into somebody like this. They had never run into a law enforcement officer who said, no, making him famous encourages the next loser. This guy wanted to be famous. And how did he know that doing this would make him famous? Because you guys in the media make them famous. You put their pictures up. You say their names 1,000 times. You examine their life. You figure out where they came from. You agonize over what his motivation was. His motivation is very simple. He wants to use you, the media, to become famous. And you are complicit in the next mass murder. And so now there is a discussion, believe it or not, in the mass media going, well, maybe could we possibly be part of this? Could we possibly have a role in making these people famous and encouraging the next loser who wants to be famous to do that? And some of them are actually not using his name. Wow. Sheriff John Hanlon, a huge, huge gun talk attaboy for you. This is just monstrously huge, what has happened here. Will it change everything? Of course not. Has it already changed some things? Yes, it has. If there is no guarantee of becoming famous to do this, you remove one of the incentives, one of the payoffs, one of the rewards for these twisted, sick losers. Of course, the other thing that should happen is there should be somebody in every one of these rooms that has a gun. People say, what do you do about these guys? It's really easy. You just kill them. You kill them right on the spot immediately. DRT, dead right there.
You're listening to Gun Talk, now on more than 200 great radio stations. Now, here's Tom.
There are so many angles to the gun rights situation, question, solution, challenge, fill in the blank, whatever it is you want to call it, the gun rights issues. One of the guys who is a very clear thinker on this, and he repositions things and says things in a way that helps everyone kind of understand. They go, oh, that makes sense, is Alan Korwin from gunlaws.com. He is the author of a zillion books, publisher of a bunch more. Joins us right now. Alan, how are you?
I'm doing great, Tom. Thanks for that intro. A zillion.
Well, I don't know how you do all the things you do. I mean, you just are putting out books left and right. And here's the thing. They are incredibly useful. They're not like, oh, here's another book. It's like you find a need and you put out a book, whether it's, a rundown of the gun laws or how to look at things or how to use the media and use their biases against them. You're a master at understanding media and everything that's going on. So I salute you for what you do.
Thank you so much for that, Tom. It's a good thing this is radio because you're turning my face red.
Well, it's absolutely true. And I can recommend Alan's website. It's gunlaws.com mightily. Before I get in, you wrote a piece that was provocative, controversial, whatever. And I know we're going to go there, but I do want to get your take on this. It's something that we've talked about before. The making someone a celebrity because he's a mass murderer, and the sheriff in Oregon, John Hanlon, who says, no, I will not even say his name. And the media kind of picked up on that, kind of like, huh? What? And then they actually started talking about it as though it's an actual subject. Your thoughts?
we're starting something called the Don't Inspire Evil Initiative, which we want to add to the journalistic code of ethics. Refrain from gratuitous or repetitive use of these villains' names and images. And the left-wing media especially will put the person's face on the screen during an entire report until the person reaches iconic status. And some of these criminals do it because they want that notoriety. Well, it doesn't advance the story. It does a lot of harm to our culture. And the Don't Inspire Evil Initiative, DIE, is something that Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership is going to do, and will be doing it in cooperation with organizations like yours on the radio and rights groups like the Cato Institute, JPFO, Accuracy in Media, and news organizations, and the Society of Professional Journalists, so that we stop glorifying these maniacs and you can do news without giving these guys names out.
Absolutely. And we know in the case of this shooter that one of the things he kept saying was he really amounted to nothing. He wanted to become famous. He made the statement that the more people you kill, the more famous you get. Obviously, the payoff that he was seeking was the celebrity. He wouldn't have been seeking that celebrity if he hadn't seen other people become famous for mass murders. So if we stop this idiocy of making them celebrities, we remove the incentive and the payoff.
That's right, and the media is complicit in this. The glory days of turning these people into heroes, dark heroes, I don't even think we should call them shooters, and we certainly shouldn't call them gunmen. Gunman is offensive to men, it's demeaning, it's discriminatory, and these people are murderers. If you call them murderers, which is what they are, it's much less of an attractive title. And gunman vilifies guns, which are honorable tools that have been part of America for centuries. And if a woman was involved, you certainly wouldn't call a person a gun woman. They're murderers, they're villains, they're assailants. They are not these words that the media uses. And being a shooter is something honorable because you learn to be a shooter, you study, you train, you gain concentration. It's an honorable thing to do. So I think we have to call them murderers, which is what they are.
Exactly. Hold on here, Alan. Got a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about there's a secret that people will not speak. It's just the thing that they don't want to talk about. It's the thing that is out there. We know it is, and no one will mention it when it comes to murder rates, where murders happen, and who commits murders. Alan Korwin, however, not only will go there, he has gone there. We'll be right back. 866-TALK-GUN.
Great Trigger can make you a better shooter. For over 60 years, Timney Triggers have been trusted by hunters and shooters everywhere. Timney Triggers are proudly made in the USA and come with a lifetime warranty. Installation is easy. Give yourself the Timney Trigger advantage. To see more and order online, go to timneytriggers.com. That's TIMNEY triggers.com.
Smith & Wesson Bodyguards. Carry more comfortably, walk more confidently. When it comes to personal protection, nothing beats a Bodyguard. Choose the lightweight, compact, and concealable Bodyguard 380 pistol or the Bodyguard 38 revolver, both with a built-in laser sight. The Smith & Wesson Bodyguards. Carry more comfortably, walk more confidently.
No matter what gun you have, you want it to hit harder, shoot faster and flatter, and be more accurate. You get all that with the ammunition from Double Tap. Double Tap's experts select the best bullets, then load them to higher velocities while keeping safe pressures. Shoot small groups, shoot farther. Use custom hunting loads in your handgun or rifle. Even fire 2 projectiles with one shot. DoubleTapAmmo.com. That's DoubleTapAmmo.com.
The .45 Auto, also known as the 1911, is the standard other defensive pistols are measured against. No matter what pistol you carry, techniques developed around the 1911 are vital. You know you need training, and you know your concealed carry class definitely was not training. Now GUNTALK presents an exciting DVD, Fighting with the 1911 with Tiger McKee. Tiger's unique training style will have you drawing, moving, shooting, and running your gun better, no matter what style pistol you prefer. At shopguntalk.com, you can order our DVDs of Tiger's instruction. ShopGuntalk.com also has a 2-DVD set, including Concealed Carry 1. Get both for the information you know you need. This really is life and death. ShopGuntalk.com has DVDs, books, and other essential gear. ShopGuntalk.com. That's ShopGuntalk.com.
The Ruger American Rifle is a 100% American-made firearm that offers outstanding performance at a great price. Available in standard size and compact models, it features power bedding integral bedding blocks, a Ruger Marksman adjustable trigger, a flush-fit 4-round rotary magazine, and a 3-lug bolt with 70-degree throw. Compact models feature a shorter length of pull and a shorter barrel for a reduction in overall length of more than 5 inches. The Ruger American Rifle, another rugged, reliable firearm from Ruger.
All right, even before we get into this important subject with Alan Korwin, I do want to mention that the Los Angeles Times came out with a map this week following the Oregon school shooting, a map of school shootings across the country. Now, what was interesting about it is if you go through it, because it looks like there are dozens of school shootings every week in the United States, you start looking at the data, fortunately it's there, they are including suicides and accidental discharges in their reports on school shootings. Alan Korwin, I'm sure that does not surprise you in the slightest.
No, not at all. And John Lott did a study of this. This information's coming from some of the anti-rights groups, and they include gangland shootings that are near schools, other kinds of discharge of firearms so they can amp up the numbers. If you want to see real numbers, at gunlaws.com, we have a gunshot demographics button, a blue button on the left-hand side of gunlaws.com that show you where real gunfire is taking place. And interactive maps will show you by age group, ethnicity, gender, who's shooting who. And it's mainly gunfire in the bad parts of town, what we used to call ghettos, that the media won't use that word anymore. But we have 6,000 blacks murdering 6,000 other blacks, or 16 a day. These never make the news. We're still talking about one shooting at one school, but that same day 16 black people murdered 16 other black people. Where's that news? Don't Black Lives Matter? Today there was 16. Yesterday there was 16. Tomorrow there will be 16. I read that there were 100,000 people killed by infections they caught in hospitals. You want to save lives? That should be on the front page. But instead we vilify guns with bad language on the front page of the paper day after day, and it suppresses all other news that might actually keep you safe.
Well, you get to that's exactly where I wanted to go, was this page on your website called Gunshot Demographics, because when you start incorporating and looking at race, people get squirmy, they get uncomfortable, and you go, yeah, but you know what? You can't discuss what's really going on unless you look at what's really going on.
It doesn't get me squirmy, Tom. I'm willing to do
nothing
it.
gets you squirmy.
Uninvited. What's that?
Nothing gets you squirmy, my friend. It's great.
Well, I'm the uninvited ombudsman. I will say what has to be said, and if they want to attack me, they can go ahead and attack me, but the facts stand as the facts, and the left ignores the facts, makes up facts. The majority of Americans understand what's going on, but the news media twists it, and in fact want you to believe that we're the minority, but we're the majority. They want you to believe words mean what they don't mean. They want you to think murderers are gun something. That's not what it is. Guns are good. Guns save lives. Guns protect you. Guns are why America is still free. that message never makes it into the news, does it?
Well, and to your point, and I know you understand this implicitly, but I want everybody to get this, because I'm sure they're thinking, well, why? Why would the media not report on this aspect of it? Why would they twist things? Why would they use certain words? And it's all about moving public opinion. And if you move public opinion, you can change public policy, right?
That's right. And this is a complex question. I have another button up at gunlaws.com called News Media Accuracy. And it talks about why this happens. The media is a self-selected set. These are people who want to improve the world. They're coming out of a school system that is so left-wing biased it isn't funny. Left-wing in the sense of socialist, borderline communist. They don't like America. They don't see all the good we've done. They want to move the world to a place that they think is good, that is actually horrendous. And they're doing it collectively. I'm a member of the Society of Professional Journalists. I see what they do. They don't understand how bad it is. Talking to them is like talking to a wall, and they just think guns are evil. That's what they think.
Well, Alan, I sat there when I actually watched from ground zero, if you will, the turn in journalism in this country. When I was in the University of Missouri's journalism program, the oldest school of journalism in the world, during the Watergate hearings. And at that point, journalists all wanted to be Woodward and Bernstein, and they looked at this and said, wow, we could actually use journalism to reshape our world. And at that point, it wasn't actually Watergate, it was during the Watergate hearings that were televised that journalism schools all saw a huge increase in enrollment, and all of a sudden everything took a hard 90-degree turn left in J schools.
I think you're right. And although it's not popular to talk about communism, communism remains a threat. It is an archenemy of America. There are communists active. In fact, C-SPAN ran the Communist Party annual meeting, and one of the things they're trying to do is to affect journalism, which they're doing. They will align you as a kook if you even discuss the subject, but they're a force out there, and the media is so far left that they approach that very political stream of thought, and they hurt America with this. The journalists are becoming one of the greatest enemies that the American republic faces. They won't even call it a republic. They call it a democracy. And if you know anything about history, our founders never used the word democracy. They were afraid of democracy. It's a very serious problem. We're a republic with some democratic principles in how we run it. But democracy is not what America's about. Journalists use the word as if it's kosher. There's a mixed metaphor for you.
From the JPFO, exactly right. All right, Alan, so as we look at this, how do people develop a heightened awareness or a sense or a sensitivity to the use of language by the media, how the subtle twists that move public opinion? How do people start to learn to say, oh, I see what they're doing there?
Well, I couldn't ask for a better lead-in than that, Tom. Listening to a show like yours, of course, is one way. I have a paper called the Politically Corrected Glossary that shows you words they use and words we ought to use. They want you to say pro-gun because they think guns are bad, so that makes you bad. And they're anti-gun, which they think is the moral high ground. You should really say you're pro-rights, because if you're pro-rights, what does that make them? Anti-rights.
Anti-rights. And let me just jump in, Alan, because we're running out of time. I'm going to encourage everybody to go to your website, gunlaws.com. Check out this glossary that Alan's talking about. It is wonderful. Change the way that you address this with people. Alan, thank you, my friend. I really appreciate you being here. You are a great thinker and great wordsmith, and you turn the subject on its head, which often we need to do to get a fresh perspective. 866-TALK-GUN. We're open lines.
Silencer Shop believes the world is loud enough.
All right, back with you here. We got line 3. Casey's with us out of Durango, Colorado. Casey, I was just flew over the top of Durango, and I was in Ouray for a couple of days last week. So, boy, you're in a beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, I sure am. I'm from another beautiful part of the world, though, Tom, and that's Roseburg, Oregon, where this shooting happened. UCC is my alma mater. I graduated 10 years ago, and I spent a lot of hours in Snyder Hall and in the science building, probably right in the very classrooms where this took place.
Wow.
It's a beautiful, just the most beautiful, picturesque town and campus you can possibly imagine. There's a lot of technology on the campus. It's a very good school. It's the least likely place that you would think something like this could happen. I really want to make sure that the listeners understand that. I spent several years there before graduating, and it is the least likely place, and yet it did anyway. And I got to tell you, even though it's such a peaceful campus, I carried every single day. There's a lot of ambiguity in the law. The administrators would tell you that it's illegal, but I talked with my lawyer before making the decision, and he said he's not so sure that it is illegal. And so I just decided to be responsible for myself and carry anyway. And, I was the kind of guy that would sit in class, and I would have arguments about the Second Amendment with my professors and defend it. And I'm carrying the whole time, and they don't know it. I was just really tired of my friends, my family, other innocents being herded into free fire zones by my government to be slaughtered. This isn't a new thing. This had been going on back then, too. And the classes are kind of built, not all the buildings are the same, but Snyder Hall is built like this, and the science building and a lot of the other buildings, too. They're like a fishbowl. The individual classrooms, they're all glass down one side. And aside from carrying, I had a well-developed plan in place in my mind on how I would deal with some emergency like this. I sat away from the glass towards the back of the room. If trouble came calling right there immediately in that particular room, well, you plan goes out the window and you do what you have to. If it happened in the next room over, you jump up, you tell everybody, tip their desk over, get behind their desk, tell the professor a lot of times the only place to go is in a closet at the back of the room. Get in that closet. You up front, move that desk over there in front of that closet door, and then get underneath it. And then you deal with, are you going to defend in place, or is everybody just going to cower and hide and wait for the authorities to show up, or are you going to go out there and take some action? Those are decisions that only one person can make for themselves, but I have a few suggestions. Yes, sir? You
obviously have given us a lot of thought, Casey. I appreciate it, and we're going to have to run to our break here. I want to applaud you for calling and sharing that. This is not an intellectual exercise. Yeah, Casey's given a lot of thought to it, but it's not an intellectual exercise. This is real. In a place where you think this is the least likely place. We never thought it would happen here. This is so unlikely. But it did. And it can. And it will again. So the only question that you have to address is, what are you going to do about it? What are you personally going to do about it? In your bubble, right around you, the area around you, what are you going to do? Do you have what you need? Training, equipment, and the will. Do you have the will? 866-TALK-GUN. When we come back, a champion shooter shares his secrets.